why a Jamaican without a high school education and no college education could build the largest mass organization before our sins, because his focal point was the restoration of nation, teaching us to think again on national terms, on universal terms, in relationship to the African people of the world, and not to those in one little corner called the United States. This is why they train our mind not to totally accept him then and now. This is why only less than 10 days ago, in the conference in Jamaica, when all the intellects were saying, hail Marcus Garvey, and writing essays, and what a great man he was, and come on, let's stop all of this nonsense. You rejected Marcus Garvey when he first tried to found his organization in Jamaica, and you rejected him when he came back after being deported in the United States. There's a political atmosphere in Jamaica right now where a Marcus Garvey alive would be stoned to death. Wouldn't be safe. And when your revolutionary men who call for revolutionary change, cannot walk among you in safety, you have no freedom. One of the things, when you look at England, a bunch of thugs, but when you look at England and find out what is the staying power of this nation that could commit so much wrong and get away with it, part of the staying power was a kind of liberalism, is that when something, an issue, comes up, all sides can discuss whether it is right or whether it is wrong. And those who lose the debate can go home and sleep without being killed in their beds. You got to give them that. Right now in the Caribbean islands, if you debate an issue, and if you're on the losing side, the chances are you are in danger. Walter Rodney was driven, literally barred from Jamaica. Went home to his own country, Guyana. All he asked for was a job as a teacher, and he was a great teacher. I just want to settle down. I'm tired of running around now. Taught in Africa, taught all England. I just want to come home now and teach in my own country. I don't want to fight nobody. I mean, I'm a college teacher, just want a job. Got 2 children and a wife. I just want to live in peace. He was killed in his own town, in his own country. And that most of the dynamic radicals either must compromise to the local government or leave the country. Oh, now back to that later, but let's look at this aftermath on the march on Washington. Because soon after the march on Washington, certain national things going to be set in motion. Less than a year, Kennedy is dead. And his death remains a mystery. You think this country is ruled by presidents. You have illusions. David Rockefeller has more power than 10 presidents. He can pick up a telephone and affect more change than any 10 presidents. The money master of the 20th century. You don't have to own a lot of money to be a money master, although it helps. You have to control it and know how to control the men with it, because many people with it don't know what to do about it or with it. All right, now, digress for a minute. What went wrong in the Nixon administration is that Nixon turned to the new millionaire class. The new millionaire class had no power, what I call telephone power. They can pick up a telephone and change the nation around. They didn't have that kind of power. They hadn't been out there long enough. Even a Texas thug like Hunt was out of it. He just got his power, got his millions day before yesterday. But those crusty old New Englanders who still got money left over from the slave trade, they have some real power. The new millionaire has a publicity man to get his picture in the paper and to make him look good. The old millionaires hire a man to keep that picture out of the paper. They don't want anybody to see them. You might pass their house and see them washing their cars or mowing their lawns. And they and God got most of the money. But they've got power behind that money. Now, had Nixon known how to turn to the right people, he might have been able to stay in power, because the country was on its way to fascism anyway, still is. Authoritarianism is what threatens this country, not communism, because they're so weak and confused, they're the greatest threat to themselves. All right, now, what's this got to do with the issue? It's a lot to do with the issue, because many times people get your mind hung up discussing something that is totally irrelevant. The relevant things is who owns power and who can use that power. All right, the death of Nixon, the death of Kennedy, not only signaled the decline of a possible liberalism that might give us a semblance of upward mobility, but it signaled not only the downgrading was a threat to whites, but a threat to blacks at the same time. Now, it remained a mystery. Now, I don't believe that Oswald, the man they accused of killing him, had the brains to plan anything as big as this that required that kind of skill. I think he was a patsy, but be that as it may. You can debate that the rest of your life, that's if you want to. He was a patsy. You have to have brains to plan the killing of a president, and to know the routing, to know the timing, to know that you've got to use a special kind of a high-powered rifle, and to aim from that distance, and to bring down your target the first shot. That takes some skill, and it takes some planning. He didn't have that kind of skill, so somebody else psyched him into doing it. All right. Soon after, Martin Luther King is assassinated. Now let's look at the scene. But before the assassination, something else is happening. King is losing favor in the civil rights movement, especially the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. They're pulling away from this concept of violence, of nonviolence. The Deacons for Defense Some of the younger people no longer see any feasibility